Okay, good morning, guys. Today is December 30th. It's like the last 2 days of 2022. And I know I watched this particular thing here before before they even kind of came to this far. Because it was kind of like I don't know, it was like a year or two ago, I think. I may have watched this. I know it wasn't that long ago. I saw it before they even kind of finished everything like the way it is now. And I saw, you know, that particular picture. I don't know if they still have it, but you could tell this one part was like a stable. Anyways, and it was the Spirit of God who told me exactly what happened there, and kind of the same thing here. As you can see, how people used to sleep back then. But this is probably in a slavery. In a slavery section, because back in those days, there was still a lot of slavery in Rome. Because remember, these were kind of like taken by the Roman people back then who crucified Jesus. Remember that, and whom told the the soldiers when Jesus was buried in his tomb to lie. When the people come, just tell them a lie that Jesus was stolen by his apostles, when it wasn't even true. That's why I say there is the spirit and there is the physical. But after, I mean, 2000, that's why I know it happened. I saw this way after 2008, the financial crisis, because when God showed me in 2008 that my hours were cut, like I only was getting 18 hours at Ralph's supermarket. I talked to God that day and I asked, well, what happened? Why are my hours cut? And God showed me like a huge line of these people who felt the same way as me, because I didn't know there was a financial crisis, which is why I really believe God came to me in 2003. Because remember, it was Bush administration that was on, and it wasn't that you know, that they were bad. It's just that it was just a situation at the time with the 9/11. Remember, so they right away went after Saddam Hussein, and of course by 2008, since the twin towers were down, everything was kind of bad at the time. The people that used to work there, they never replaced them, right? Okay, so it wasn't until Obama came in that they started rebuilding the twin towers. But I guess what I'm trying to say is all the people that died there. Well, think about it. There was no more money coming in to go into the tax system. You see, everything happens for a reason. That's why God said, follow Jesus, because, think about it. Jesus even gave Caesar, taxes. He paid taxes, okay? But that was in the New Testament. So that's what I'm saying. Science is to do with the changes, like physically, like when God told me about the what do you call the excuse me, showed me the vision of all these people at Ralph's supermarket in California when I was working in 2008. I was like, wow. I said to God, please show me what do you want me to do about it, okay? Because remember, after 2000, when God came, and I said, when He asked me if these are the kinds of people I want raising my kids, and I said, hell no. Well, since that day, I've been talking to God about what I need to do, right? So I prayed in 2003, like I said, and God brought Jesus and introduced Jesus to me, okay? When He said to open my eyes, okay? So you see, my relationship with God and Jesus is not, it didn't just start here. It started since I was a kid, but it reactivated like in 2000 because, well, I guess after I prayed to God to please, if he, to save my kids from the, um, to please save my kids, in 1999. I'm sorry, when I was praying for the Columbine shooting. Anyways, when I was watching TPN, that if I could work another job, because back then we didn't make that much money. Well, I mean, I didn't really work that much hours either because at when I was working at Twyla Reed as a noon supervisor with my kids, because I was their mother. I was their full-time mother. In 2000, we moved there since 1998. Okay, New Year's Day was when we moved, and then 1999. I prayed to God after that Columbine shooting for the safety of my kids, and then God had me go with my kids get a Bible for their father, and then after it got ripped up in the back, I mean, um, well, I found out after there were these angels on top of the roof of our house, and I just didn't know why until I found the Bible ripped apart outside. So ever since then, well, I went to jail, after after that time, and it was then that I cried for 3 nights to God, and I told him, please, this world was so evil. If he could take me away from it, because I was just hurt and I didn't understand anything. All I know is that I had kids that I needed to take care of and a family, but I guess God, had a plan. So he came after the third day of crying at the cell in Santa Ana, and God asked me if he brings me home, like who's gonna raise my kids, right? So that's when he asked me, are these the people you really want raising your kids? So I said, hell no. So, because I was a very black and white Christian, like, because I was raised that way, and I kind of instilled some of that to my kids, but that was because that was just, how I was raised. Their father used to don't like it because I was just very straightforward. Like, I would tell him stuff that, I guess he wasn't interested in hearing. But the thing is, I'm just speaking from my heart. I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad. I'm just, like for example, pray, let's go to church, to thank God for the strength that He's given all of us, and that kind of thing. And as a Christian, you're supposed to, witness and be a light to others, especially people who's weak in the faith. Well, that kind of like started, our fight, because I was more like, okay, the kids clean, clean your beds when you wake up, and before you, well, in the weekends before you play or whatever, fix your beds, and during the week, read when and do their homework after they get home. I mean, I'm just straight up like, soldier type of management, because that's how we were raised. We do our chores before we do anything else. I mean, we do our chores, and then we get to play or do whatever else we wanted. And then when it is time to eat dinner, okay, everybody has to go home and eat dinner, and everybody has to say a prayer before that, and everybody behaves when it's prayer time. So I remember me and my brother, we were beat up one time when our uncle was trying to play with us while our grandma was praying. Well, our grandma literally was so mad that she literally waited until the prayer was over, and she says, well, anyway, I just remember she scolded us somehow, but we never forgot that. So ever since then, we never played again. During prayer, we just always bow our heads, So, I mean, to help my kids understand why I'm so strict about, God, and it's not because I I chose that. It's because I guess God chose me, as He came to teach you guys His ways. Like He came to me in Psalm when I was a kid that I have to obey the 10 Commandments. Well, starting with the fifth commandment by obeying my parents unto Him. So, especially because I even know yet who grew the trees. I mean, apparently God's trying to tell me something. Well, if you don't know who grew the trees, well, how do you expect to know anything else, right? But the whole point is you know, um, to my kids. That's why I'm really strict about. That's why I was really strict about things, because there are rules and regulations in everything in life. Including in your own home, you have to have some kind of guidelines, like the times you go to sleep, the times you wake up, the times you eat. You gotta have guidelines, because if you don't, you're gonna ruin yourself and your mind. You're gonna run yourself crazy. Like, okay, well, because the times when you guys go to bed, I would get my rest by watching TBN or filling my that's why the Matthew 5 says, blessed are those who hunger and thirst after righteousness. Well, that's me. That's why I always used to watch, godly channels, or when I when I was raising you guys, because I needed to fill my mind with positive things so I could think positive, because, well, I never really expected to have 3 kids all at once, but I accepted it, because I do love you guys. It's just like having triplets, right? So anyways, except the only difference that you guys were, well, different 2 years apart. But anyways, the point is, so after I going back, when God came to me in jail in 2000, I actually about September, first I went in Orange County, and September, I think, I don't know if it's during the day. Yeah, I think they took me, I think it was September 2nd, they took me in. 2nd, 3rd, I think it was one of those days. I mean, the first day, during the day, because I was skipped there for the whole night, but it was the daytime that I remember the policeman came and took me to the 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 Santa Ana, I think, or I'm not sure. Anyways, I just remember, no, it wasn't Santa Ana. It was the cell, okay, the jail cell, because I remember at the jail. I mean, at the jail's little, wow, place over there. I was so naive. I didn't even know when people was like, doing things that I wasn't even familiar with. I I was so scared. I turned around in my little booth, and I started praying to God, and saying, God, if you could do it for Silas, if you could do it for Silas and Paul in jail, I really would like for you to break down these walls, you know, to break down the walls in jail. Okay, and I mean, not in jail, in that little cell over there at the police, well, the little police jail that they have. They hold you before they take you. Anyways, I was on my knees praising God, and praying, please God, if you can do that for Silas and Paul in jail, please, I really would like for you to break down these walls. Well, I guess God did, by coming down at the cell after I cried to him in 3 days. And then ever since then, we've been communicating, and like I would ask him for certain things that I knew that he wanted me to do, especially for you guys and for the safety, I mean, well, wherever you are and around this world you're living in, you need safety, right? So to help those who are around you guys, like for example, I know you guys knew that growing up that, like, well, that's how we were raised, now they're called the LGBT people. But I mean, like I said, God loves everybody, but he doesn't love sin. He doesn't like sin. Just like when the Bible was ripped apart, he didn't like that, right? Because that's his word. So if somebody's going to mess with God's word and his children, what do you think he's going to do? So anyway, so that's why I wanted to show you guys this picture, especially even my nephews, or my nieces or any of my family. So the Pompeii, this happened in 79 AD, and I didn't see that thing I told you guys before in 79 AD until after the 2008 financial crisis, after God told me to help everyone, like in every community and in every country, like one community, one country at a time. Okay, because that's what I went and I told my store manager named Ralph in Ralph's in Ralph's store, which is how the banks were saved in 2008. Because I guess Linda was, she was, I guess, listening to me and the store manager's conversation, and I was telling him, and then I guess well, the word went around, and so what's his name? I remember Keith was calling, somebody, but I knew he was calling to tell, something. So I was so grateful, at least, because I found out later on that one of my niece she worked at the bank and they kept her aside, But, because they go to church, her parents were very they were very church people, okay? So that's why I say, when you do things unto the Lord, God will spare you in bad times, because while she's my niece legally, but she's kind of like my second cousin. Anyways, well, God wound up having me go over there, and that's who God had me tell her that she was gonna have a son. Okay, around in 2010, I believe. Yeah, in 2010, around May. Okay, and before I moved, I moved to Ula and Lepe. Anyways, that's what I'm saying. So God will do things for those, Romans 8:28, for those that love him. So, but apparently, this is a good example right here of, in this video here, of what happened to people who don't do God's will, okay? So this is why I'm telling you guys, you know, God will save you guys if you do good. But here's a good example of what would happen to those who disobey God and don't listen to God, okay? And I'm telling you this because God already showed me that favor when you love and you obey him, and and you obey the laws of God unto him. I mean, look how sad that is. I mean, look at how many, they're sleeping, and it's so sad because it seems like see that guy way over at the end, it seems like, I don't know, somebody sneaking up to these slaves and these slavery people, and it's so sad. It's like, people back in those days, they were very, very evil. They would like do bad things. If they are in power, they do bad things, to people who are enslaved. So that's why I'm telling you guys, God, did not like it. And when Jesus came, he took away all the enslavement from everybody. That's including, it's all of God. I mean, Noah's kids, Japheth, Shem, and Ham. I mean, the curse of Ham had nothing to do with God. It was just from his father, because he made his father mad, and his father, well, he was drunk, and he accidentally, because he was not himself. So that's the reason why the church too don't allow drinking, when you go to the temple, because you don't want to say the wrong thing, or you think something that you didn't intend. And then, see how there's a horse right there, and that is so sad, I mean, this is what happened in 79. Look at that. Those little kids. I mean, 79 AD. Look at that. They're playing with the kids. 79 AD. Okay? So that's what I'm trying to tell you guys. They just putting this on display so that you guys can know this and not ever forget it. This really did happen in 79 AD. Look at that. It's so sad. It looks like somebody was, taking somebody by force. Okay, now this one here is about the discovery of Soddom and Gommorah, the Red Sea of Jesus' blood. He's two more, the Ark of the Covenant and Noah's Ark. Today we are going to be talking about the Ark of the Covenant with Kevin Fisher from Ark Discovery International, ArkDiscovery.com. Welcome back, Kevin.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
We're happy to have you here. We have some artifacts on the table we want to get into right away. I'm sure most of our viewers are familiar with the Ark of the Covenant. If not seeing it in Indiana Jones. This is more recent than 79 AD. So all this came through after Joseph Smith brought forward the Book of Mormon. Because remember, it was a promise from Jesus to Jared's brother. Just don't say anything until he comes in flesh.
He told him how to draw it.
And then after...
This is a 3D printing of it, where the angels are attached to either end of the mercy seat, and this lifts up. These are solid gold. So you have solid gold angels, solid gold mercy seat, and then this was acacia wood overlaid with gold, the box.
And that was way before the 79 AD. That was during Moses' time, when God gave the 10 Commandments.
Be removed from the box or the ark itself. And of course, the tables of stone would rest inside of there. Now, another thing we want to point out before we get into
and that's another evidence of God, did write the 10 Commandments with Netanyahu's.
Yes, there's a tunnel that eventually led to the Ark and Mr. White's excavations from 79 to 82. I believe this was found in 1979. It's a little ivory pomegranate that the Israeli Antiquities Authority, Mr. White, gave it to them. Of course, anything he would find during the day, he would turn over.
Okay, just to add why I can relate to some of these things. God reveals things to me for a reason, I guess, so I could explain it. Now that I look back, I think so I could explain it, because remember in 1979, John Paul II, had said the prayer. Remember that? Okay. I believe it was probably because after this discovery. But remember, before the discovery, God came to me in Samoa, okay, in between 1976 and 1977. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, what you call it? Russell, Prophet Russell M. Nelson right now, or as the president of the church, he came to Samoa, he said in 1976 when he was 19 with the prophet at the time. Okay. And that prophet too, okay, so just to let you guys know, like this was also um, what you call it, here in Vegas. You remember with Ronald Reagan? Okay, Ronald Reagan was also, I think he was meeting with that prophet that prophet from 1976 with uh, Russ, Russell M. Nelson when he was 19. Okay, that that prophet of that time. I remember the first counselor, him and his counselors came to. I think he came to Vegas, to meet up with. I guess with the. I think they had meetings here with a lot of the people from California, like the movie stars over there in California, especially the Jewish community. Like what's her name? Oh, like Elizabeth Taylor and Michael Jackson were very very close. I mean, later on, but I'm saying this started way back because if you remember, what's his name? Ronald Reagan, before he became president, he was here in 1940s, in the 1940s, and I believe they were trying to help bring the Jewish community from, like, that's how, like those guys, like Siegel's parents, that was Jewish and Russian, came to America. I mean, they were trying to help them escape. So anyways, I believe because I watched this like sometime, I think it was in Mojave sometime, about why the prophet that came to Samoa was coming to Las Vegas, and why Ronald Reagan was here too back then. And then I, as God shows me these things, that's why I say I could relate to it, because I was asking him, like, oh, if coming, like him coming to meet me in Samoa, oh, that was just for me, but apparently it's for you guys too, okay?
To them. If it was not of any value, they would give it back to him. But they kept this. But shortly afterwards, the Israel Antiquities Authority some things were stolen out of